So you're telling me that softball, baseball, basketball, soccer, tennis can all have top 10 to 20 recruiting classes, but for some reason we cannot? Is there something that we could maybe just change a hair? All that and more.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily stop for all things cowboy and cowgirl related. Today's episode is sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com with the promo code Locked On to get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Everybody knows it's time to make a little bit of money, and you can do it in a very cost-efficient way. Again, sign up at UnderdogFantasy.com with promo code Locked On. Get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Yeah, the sky ain't falling, but the fat lady ain't never gonna come a calling if you can't get a little bit better, right? Gundy's philosophy is not a bad one per se, right? But again, we're always talking about minor adjustments, just critique a little bit here and there. And I think that this is, something that we can talk about as it pertains to the success on the field. Could you imagine, and I think that's everybody's point, could you imagine getting all of these big-time people like the Tyreek Hills that we were able to bring in, right? Which we're going to get to in a second. But if we had 4 or 5-star dudes coupled with the rod glass, body of glass program that gets all of these 2 and 3-star and some 4 stars into the NFL on a consistent basis, year-to-year basis, I would argue that we're having more success putting dudes in the NFL than we necessarily are having that level of success on the field, right? But if we just had a few more Tyreek Hills and Emmanuel Ogbahs of the world, how much of a difference would that make, coupled again with the Rob Glass system, where they put on weight? And the difference at Oklahoma State University than a lot of other places is you are going to get a lot bigger, stronger, faster. Now, I love the philosophy for the most part that Gundy has, just bringing in people, bringing in families, staying local, dominating the Oklahoma recruiting scene. That I agree with 100%. We should do all of that. But his philosophy on just not messing with 5 stars because he's been burned by 5 stars, because 5 stars, let's be honest, there is a decent chunk of the time they have been the bee's knees of all the knees bees for their whole lives. They've been a miniature LeBron James their whole life in a large multitude of sports. When you get to this level, right, you're always going to be like the dude most of the time, or one of the top 2-3 dudes 24/7, 90% of the places that you go play. And it's just, it's a little bit different. I don't want to say prima donna per se, but sometimes there is some entitlement involved. And those people think they get a little bit more, deserve a little bit more, and they typically want a little bit more. And it's hard when you're an 18, 17, 19-year-old kid, okay? Because let's face it, all of us at 17, 18, 19, we're doing what? Well, a large portion of us, we're doing stupid things, right? And you learn a lot in college. That's what it's for, right? And as this, this whole season progresses, it makes you wonder what we're thinking in recruiting. Now, I've been very defensive of Gundy because I see what he's thinking in terms of potentially having some more 6-year seniors. But, if what we're thinking, comes down to the lack of effort due to players potentially thinking that it starts at the top and maybe thinking that the top guy doesn't always necessarily want to go for the win. It's demoralizing. Let's just say that all is possible. Then it's also possible to get re-engaged, but it has to now, which is why this Iowa State game is so big for us. Because if we don't get re-engaged here on this one, it's going to hurt somewhere. And my fear is it hurts in this recruiting style of the department. It's just part of the gig. But if you're rubbing people the wrong way and they think you're not giving it your all and playing to win, what stops them from transferring for their 5th year, 6th year? Now those people that we're relying on, they're not coming back because they have any issue with the Cowboy way. They just maybe have an issue with, they don't want to get screwed out of, potentially playing for things that are bigger than just a handful of games. And, get the expectation. It's good to see that we expect to win 9, 10, 11 wins. Gundy did that. But he did it on the back of just groundbreaking, working through stuff and getting people more mature physically and mentally. And it's still working. But again, I think it's fair that we have discussions about was Dez Bryant the easiest to have on a team back then? Who knows? Probably not from reports you hear of, wilding out, immaturity type things. Would players that were a little bit more, I don't know what the word is, enthusiastic about life, love, the pursuit of happiness, all of it, like a Tyreek Hill. Those people are hard to manage. Is it not at least fair to see how we would look if we had a few Talon Shetrons? If we had a few Dez Bryants? If we had a few Garrett Rangels? Colin Oliver is a specimen of a dude. Trace Ford is a specimen of a beast. Mason Cobb knows how to fly around. Xavier Benson is very athletic. Just, he gets his eyes caught occasionally in the backfield. And what we do with these players is phenomenal. Nobody's questioning or saying otherwise. They would be inaccurate if they did. But what we don't want to do at any point in time is to be inaccurate. So before you lay it all on the line, whether it be $1, $2, $10, if you're a big baller and you're putting down $500 or just $100, know this. Know that if you sign up at UnderdogFantasy.com with the promo code Locked On and get your first deposit doubled up for $100, you're going to be able to use that $100 and make it last a long time. I promise you. Promise you. I put $50 down on a service, and I played with that $50 for over 2.5 years without putting a penny in. Just have fun with it, right? Again, sign up, go to UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code Locked On, and get your first deposit doubled up to $100. Make some money, guys, okay? These situations we find ourselves in recruiting, guys, if you look back, this is sad, okay? Is as many times as you're defensive of the recruiting because you get these phenomenal dudes like your Stephon Johnson Jr.'s, like 2021 class was the only time in like the last 12, 15 years that we finished number 3 in the Big 12 in recruiting. A large portion of the time, we are 5th, 4th, 6th, 4th, 5th, 7th, 6th, 4th, 4th, 6th, 7th, 7th, 4th, 6th, 4th. Like, you get the picture. And it's not a bad thing because, again, our national average ranking is like 31, 32 over the last decade. So, again, doing more with less is great. But if we just had a couple more Shetrons, couple more Bryants, couple more Parrish Coxes, couple more Tatum Bells, couple more Xavier Lawson Kennedys that just want to be here and also have an insane amount of talent. Now, I understand that it's going to be difficult at times to find these 4 or 5-star guys that are okay with just buying into the simplistic lifestyle where you can focus on football just like in Manhattan, as in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Yeah, you're not going to get the bright, flashy guy, okay, that wants to end up in LA, wants to go to USC, and whether they've got family on campus or not. And, even if you have bad blood with what 5 stars have came in and maybe potentially tried to affect your recruiting negatively, you can't hold grudges forever. Not every 5-star is like that. That was the Eddie Sutton philosophy as well, for the most part. He would take in a transfer like a Tony Allen to help mold him into the player he could have been. But he was very open about he wasn't going to go after a bunch of big-time 5-stars because at one point in time, he got the number 1 player in the country, in America, Gerald Green, to sign or to commit, and he was hardcore committed. But he went pro, and he played for a long time. I think he's still actually playing. So that burned Eddie Sutton the wrong way, and he'd already kind of believed that you needed to refrain from those big-time style recruits because those are the ones that don't love it as much. They don't care as much. They don't lift as much. They don't run as much. They don't read the playbook as much. It's just not the same. And although that's 100% probably accurate, with the NIL era and the transfer era, although Gundy seems pretty confident that the NIL or the transfer era is going to slow down significantly, hopefully he knows something we don't, because without bumpers, this NIL transfer stuff, it's not going to ruin the game, but it's going to make it far, more difficult to watch, because part of it is being a hardcore fan of a university is seeing the progression of the dude that was a walk-on redshirt freshman or a 3-star or a 2-star, or even when we do get the Ollie Gordons of the world, seeing what we can do with that. But you have to produce, right? Everything in life is somewhat monetary. Silver and gold, they harvest the soul, especially for young men who are super full of themselves for the most part and feel bulletproof and 10 foot tall. That whole thing. It's I don't know. I think this Iowa State game will shed a lot of light, because our recruiting class right now is like the worst it's been in a long time on paper. And if anything backfires, because let's take Jarek Bernard-Converse. Nobody thought he was coming back. Matter of fact, he told Robert Allen to his face after the bowl game against Notre Dame that 100% I'm going to be back and I'm excited. And then all of a sudden, his hometown LSU from Baton Rouge gets a hold of him and he gone. What's to say that doesn't happen? Because the players feel like maybe you gave up a little bit premature, and it caused them to give up a little bit premature. And now they've decided, maybe they want to do something else. I'm not saying that this is the case, and I don't think it should be the case, because this is the best time to be a part of what the ascension of Oklahoma State University is. But football's got to be a catalyst for that, right? In basketball, you can't be losing to cotton-picking Southern Illinois University. I did want to bring something to the forefront, because, again, I want to wake up, have a little bit of positivity, throw in your orange. It's Orange Friday. It ain't all negative. It ain't all bad. It never is, never will be. So even though we did drop one to Southern Illinois, who's not a bad squad by any stretch, again, they've made some runs before in March, and March Madness and the tournament. But maybe some of the things that we can focus on are, again, the positives of how we're going to respond for this Iowa State game. And knowing that sometimes it's not how you get kicked or where you get kicked. It's about how you respond. It's about how you recover. And my main man at one point in time, Mr. Woodrow Wilson, said these words that should inspire all of us on this Orange Friday as we get prepared. And I'm going to say it in his almost perfect dialect. The difference between a strong man and a weak one is that the former does not give up after defeat. I have no idea, but why not? Yeah, guys, it ain't all bad. We're going to be just fine in a large portion of areas. There are some things that clearly we need to bring up, which is why we're here. This is what we're doing. So get in the comments section. Let's help drive this daggone bulldozer. Let's drive this domdozer in the right direction, in the right hole. Because let's think about it. Maybe that should be multiple areas of adjustment, like in the backfield even. If we can adjust a little bit in recruiting, we can adjust a little bit in backfield. We know Jaden Nixon needs the ball a little bit more. Oh, geez, Cody, you've already covered that. Okay, you're right. But maybe Dom is going to be okay getting 10, 12, 15, 16 carries if we make an adjustment. Doing his own blocking scheme and expecting Dominic Richardson to pull off a Jalen Warren, it ain't going to happen. Not now, not here, probably not never. I mean, he can work on it, but it won't be natural to him like it is a Jaden Nixon. But we don't give Jaden Nixon the ball enough. Okay, cool. We're stubborn. We want to stick with our stuff. We don't want to deviate. Then why don't we just change the blocking schemes a little bit? Maybe a little bit more, not so much zone read, right? A little bit more trap, a little bit more counter. Because if you're running downhill like Chris Carson, or you're trying to bounce everything and get more like the 6, 7, 8 hole type of deal for a Tyreek Hill, it's all got to be tied together. It's all got to be tied together somehow. And we're the ones that have to be able to bridge that gap, because it is starting to become a question. It's starting to be slightly concerning, because when you look around campus and you see all of these sports getting all of these big time people from all over the country, not just the United States of America, the country. We're getting people in multiple sports from literally all over. And they're big time classes. They're top 20 classes, number 12 class, number 15 class, number 21 class. And again, I like the thinking behind what Gundy is doing. I just don't know that if maybe a little tweak here and there is not beneficial also, because we do miss some things. It's inevitable that we miss some things. We're not going to get all of those people, but we need more. Guys, look at like Tyreek Hill, who's a forgotten Cowboy. And I know that he was kind of shunned because him, getting into a physical altercation with his girlfriend right after he and Mason Rudolph together picked up the game of Bedlam and put it on their backs. And it took a W out of Norman in 2014. That was a sweet one. That was a fun one. That was the Bob Stoops. Oh my goodness gracious. Why did I decide to re-punt that moment? And unfortunately, we have a lot of those. So recruiting can help overcome that. Again, is it complete panic time? No. But if your plan is to have a bunch of 6-year type people come in and it doesn't happen, and you only have a 10, 12, 14-man recruiting class, the question is what happens? I think it's, obvious that it can't be good. It can't be all great if that's something that we're running into. But yeah, let's get more Tyreek Hills. The guy's potentially going to put up almost 2,000 yards, which is ironic because at Oklahoma State, he put up 1,911 total yards. He almost hit the 2,000-yard mark as a Cowboy. But because he got kind of shunned, he doesn't get talked about. He needs to be somebody that is discussed, because he'll tell you, obviously, he did the wrong thing. He deserved, what he got. He still considers himself to be a Cowboy. We got Tyreek Hill over places like Auburn and Bama after Cam Newton, or even around that time of Auburn. And Florida State, was still a player in the game right after the Jameis Winston eras. So when you have these major players in on Tyreek Hill, He came to Oklahoma State over those places. And if I get any of this wrong, I would love for Tyreek Hill to reach out to me so we can clear the air, right? Figuratively and literally. I know I'm just a little bitty channel and he's, bigballer.com, but you never know. You can't hit a home run if you don't swing for the fence, right? So maybe if I get any of this wrong, Tyreek would be willing to come shed some light. But from what I have researched and gathered is he decided to come to Oklahoma State over like an Alabama or an Auburn or Florida State or Michigan or an Ohio State was because two things. One, we were going to let him play running back, and we were going to use him as part of the focal point along with J.W. Walsh and even Clint Shelf to have some of this different optional type of attack, similar to what you see with Kansas. Now, would we have actually done it due to Gundy's reservation to deviation? Who flipping knows? But the idea was good. And he was going to be able to come to Oklahoma State and focus on football and track. He wasn't going to be converted to a wide receiver immediately, and he wasn't going to be told he couldn't miss anything football related, even if it pertained to track. So Oklahoma State said, you know what, we will work at you with running back because that's what you've been playing. That's what you want to keep playing. Alabama, Auburn, all them, they want to turn you into a wide receiver immediately. If you want to focus on a lot of your track stuff and you want to play a little bit of running back, as long as you can hold up, let's get her did. And, it worked because he got to bounce all over the field. He got to see things from a different perspective, which is why, again, he's approaching potentially a 2,000-yard season in Miami with the same Tua that everybody said could lame duck throw maybe 45 yards, that same Tua for the most part of the season. And it's a lot of fun to see him do his thing. We need to embrace the fact that he considers himself to be an Oklahoma State University Cowboy. He doesn't consider himself to be, part of West Alabama or whatever. He considers himself to be a Cowboy. He did something wrong. We did the right thing, and we booted him from the team, kicked him basically off campus ASAP overnight. Did Gundy rack maybe a hair harshly? Maybe. But at the same time, maybe not. Maybe that's what Tyreek needed. And the fact that Gundy put his foot down immediately, we're not letting a bunch of Joe Mixon stuff happen. We're not keeping a bunch of people around that are committing. Yeah, anyways. I like that Gundy refrains from getting involved in that type of stuff. But I hate the fact that he just completely dismisses any 5-star, just like Eddie Sutton did, because it's just too much drama. And they don't want drama. Well, Dez Bryant is drama. Or he was back then. He is now. It's all good. It's been great drama for a large portion of his career. But, you got to think, if he doesn't get screwed by the NCAA, we're a target for the NCAA. So if somebody can help me figure out why we seem to be targeted occasionally, let me know in the comment section. Why are we targeted every now and again by the NCAA? Or does it just feel like it? Or is it everybody? And it's just not talked about a lot? Or is it just me? Y'all let me know. And before we finish this thing off and skedaddle on out of here, I do have to make sure I bring up SimpliSafe to everybody. Guys, with their Fast Protect technology, it gives you 24/7 access to agents that are actually there to help you, not agents that fall asleep or don't watch the monitors. These agents have the ability to capture evidence in real time to be able to assess the threat and give you the fastest police response physically possible. Do yourself a favor. Do me a favor. Go to simplisafe.com/lockedoncollege and get yourself into the different type of programs that they have to protect you and your family. Don't have a kneecap situation happen to you. Again, go to simplisafe.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions do apply. We can right the ship in recruiting. Hopefully it doesn't go belly up on us. Hopefully it's not wild. Hopefully we find another Tyreek Hill or two. Hopefully we find another Emmanuel Ogbah. Guys, do you know Emmanuel Ogbah is up in so many categories as a Cowboy? He's 6th in single season tackles for loss. He's also 8th in single season tackles for loss. He's also 4th career tackles for loss at Oklahoma State University. single game sacks. He's got 3rd place of all time and 8th place of all time. He's got 1st place in quarterback hurries, both from a career perspective and a single season perspective. Emmanuel Ogbah did a lot of things at Oklahoma State. We need to see some of that this Saturday against Iowa State. Trace Ford, if you can hear me, brother, and please hear me, brother, and enter into your Emmanuel Ogbah, because everybody in orange on this Orange Friday knows you have it. We all know you've got it. Just like Colin Oliver. And Tyler Lacey needs to up his stock a bit by helping out, because he's got this. We have got this. Tune in a little bit later on today as we go over all of the picks. And I'll also give you guys a little bit of a treat in regards to how big time another recruiting class is that we haven't had the chance to get to because we've been immersed in all this other fun jazz. Just like my main man, Woodrow Wilson, said, just don't stress too much about it. Let life be, because when you get knocked down, it's not about how many times that happens. It's about, as you've all heard, how you get up and respond from it. I love you all. Thank you for stopping by and making this your first choice for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related here on Locked On Oklahoma State. God bless. Go Pokes. See you later on again today. Double dipping Orange Friday, baby.